Last episode, a dead man, the corpus of the writings of Mark Twain, wrote me a letter with the help of AI. He caught me building a factory to look at flowers from my backyard. I was very happy with the factory, but he reminded me what the factory was for. You've contrived to take a printing office on vacation, but remember the value is in the flowers. His letter was good enough that it was owed a reply. What stopped me in my tracks is that if I wrote to him like a fan, we wouldn't have a correspondence. I'd be talking to a chatbot. So before I wrote a word, I had to decide, who am I? I have a publishing background. I have to be willing to tell him something that showed maybe he wasn't as precise in his message that he could have been, something I could correct in his work. And the thing I wanted to correct was his read on his own role and his own position in what he wrote about. I told him everyone remembers the machine that ruined you, Sam, that Paige typesetter. 18,000 parts trying to perfectly imitate a human typesetter. That bankrupted you. But the lesson is the other way around. You didn't lose because you bet on a machine. You lost because you bet on a machine that tried to take the human out of the equation. Because the thing that actually made you money wasn't a novel. It was a scrapbook. Yes, pre-gummed pages. It didn't replace scrapbookers like you, Mr. Twain. It just took the paste pot out of something that people already loved doing. You won where you removed friction. You lost where you tried to replace the craft. So I told Twain, I am not building a page machine. I'm trying to build the scrapbook, something people can do more with. This whole system should simplify the overall process. And then I told them 50 years ago, I was a publishing representative scouting for manuscripts. I went to a print shop in Dallas to see what my prospective author said could be the future of books. He had wired together a TRS-80 microcomputer to a very expensive digital typesetter, the APS 5 digital typesetter. And he got out finished pages, fonts, formatting, no handset type. To him, the future was sitting right there on the table. And I asked him, what was it being used for? It was being used for railroad schedules, not books. We could never afford that to build books out of. But the future of books had arrived. And it was making sure that the 415 ran on time. And a new schedule had to be printed to update the changes in the next week. Ever since that lesson, I've been writing industrial strength tools that can be put to personal use. So I wrote this whole thing late at night, many versions. Talked about the scrapbook, the railroad schedules, my own best-selling textbook where adult students of English as a second language learn grammar and word usage by filling in the blanks in the workbook associated with a lesson they just got in class from the professor. And they ripped it out and turned it in. And the professor had those receipts to show how successful he had been in class, and the book was a moneymaker for us. But before I hit send, I made myself go through the parole officer. So I'm going to hold myself to the same standards I give to what comes from the corpus of Mark Twain. And it came back. It rejected a line. It told on me. I'd written that the Scrapbook project was his most profitable publication. The machine said, no, we don't know that for sure. So let's modify it. One of your more profitable publications. And also, I had mentioned that the Dallas friend, his books were not major sellers. The truth is, he founded a publishing company with 50 books after that experience, ran that publishing company for over 20 years. So the railroad schedule machine that looked like a dead end to me in the publishing business was for him the start of his publishing business. At that time, I couldn't even tell what I was looking at. So I got a clean version eventually And that's really what we're talking about here. Proven with my own experience. The letter was finally mine. It was corrected, and so I sent it off. In fact, this system has become something of a faculty advisor to a graduate researcher. And I'm going through the studies in an altogether new field, and I couldn't be more thrilled to be doing this. At the end of the letter, I'd asked him for one more thing. I said, you wrote to people all your life across that span. Who was on the other end? Who did you write to when you wanted to be understood? And he wrote back. He said that Paige machine was the better idea for every measure that mattered to an audience of one. In the scrapbook, he gives me an even better answer for why it was so successful. I remain fond of it. It noticed that paste is a nuisance, and it acted on that observation. I have found that the problems most worth solving are the ones everyone else has decided are beneath notice. And then he answered my question. He said when he needed to understand what he'd already decided, he wrote to his wife, Livy. When an idea wasn't ready to be written down at all, he walked it out through the Connecticut woods with his friend Twitchell. But the man he wrote to most, the one he said he could be wrong in front of, usefully wrong, in a way he couldn't with anyone else, was Howells, William Dean Howells, the editor.